Good morning, everyone. Love is a word that carries so much weight, doesn't it? It's something we crave, something we yearn for, but also something that can confuse us, challenge us, and leave us questioning. Today, I want to unravel one of the paradoxes of love that we often misunderstand. What happens when someone who loves you begins to pull away, to ignore you? Is it because they don't care, or is it something deeper? Let's dive in together, because the answer lies in the tension between vulnerability, self-protection, and the courage to truly connect. Let's talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability is the birthplace of love, joy, and belonging, but it's also the source of our deepest fears. When we truly love someone, we hand them the power to hurt us. We give them access to our most unguarded selves, the raw, unpolished parts of who we are. And that's terrifying. Now, think about this. Many of us are taught, either by society or our past experiences, that vulnerability is weakness. We've heard things like, don't let anyone see you cry, or if you love too much, you'll get hurt. These messages created deep resistance to showing our true feelings, especially in relationships. So when someone loves you, their fear of being vulnerable can become a barrier. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the vast unknown. That's what love feels like for someone who is afraid to open up. Ignoring you becomes their safety net. It's not because they don't care, it's because caring too much feels like stepping into that abyss. Vulnerability forces them to confront their fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough, and the fear of losing the very thing they treasure most, you. For some people, ignoring is a way to hold on to control. Vulnerability feels like giving up that control, like letting go of the walls they've built to protect themselves. They think, if I don't say too much, if I don't show too much, I can avoid the pain. But here's the paradox: the walls they build to keep pain out also keep love from fully getting in. Think about it. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that it scared you? Have you ever felt so exposed that your first instinct was to retreat, to protect yourself? That's what's happening here. Vulnerability requires courage, and not everyone is ready to be brave. This fear of vulnerability doesn't mean they don't love you. In fact, it might mean the opposite. Their silence, their withdrawal, it's often a reflection of just how much you mean to them. They're afraid of getting it wrong. They're afraid of losing you by saying or doing the wrong thing. But here's the truth: love and fear often lie side by side. The person who loves you may feel caught between these two emotions, struggling to reconcile the depth of their feelings with their fear of being vulnerable. Ignoring you might be their way of avoiding the risk of being hurt, of being seen fully, because when you love someone, being vulnerable means trusting them with parts of yourself that even you might not fully understand. So how do we navigate this? We start by recognizing that vulnerability isn't a flaw, it's a bridge. It's the only path to deep, meaningful connection. And if someone loves you but is afraid to be vulnerable, it doesn't mean the connection is impossible. It means they're on their own journey of learning how to open up. Vulnerability is scary, but it's also the only way love can truly thrive. When someone is ignoring you out of fear, it's not necessarily a sign of rejection. It's a sign that they're grappling with the weight of what it means to love you deeply. And that's something worth understanding, worth unpacking, and worth working through together. Let's take a moment to explore one of the most misunderstood behaviors in relationships: the act of ignoring. When someone we care about ignores us, our immediate reaction is often pain or confusion. We start to question, did I do something wrong? Or do they even care about me? But sometimes ignoring isn't about you at all, it's about them. and their need to process the overwhelming emotions that love stirs within them. You see, love is powerful. It's not just a feeling, it's an experience that awakens parts of us we didn't even know existed. And for many people, love can bring emotions to the surface that feel too big, too intense, or too complicated to handle all at once. Ignoring you may not be a rejection, it may be their way of stepping back to make sense of what they're feeling. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for a long journey. The weight becomes unbearable at some point, and you have to stop, put it down, and catch your breath. For some, love feels like that backpack. It's beautiful, but it's heavy. It's exhilarating, but it requires effort. Ignoring is their way of setting the backpack down to pause, to catch their emotional breath. Some people aren't naturally equipped to handle big emotions in real time. They don't know how to articulate what they're feeling, so they withdraw. The silence is not meant to hurt you. It's a reflection of their struggle to understand what's going on inside. They're asking themselves questions like, why does this feel so intense? Why do I feel vulnerable? Am I ready for this level of connection? This processing period is especially common in relationships where the stakes feel high. The more they care about you, the more their emotions can overwhelm them. And when emotions are overwhelming, people default to behaviors that feel safe, like ignoring. They think if I stay quiet, I won't say the wrong thing. If I step back, I can figure out how I really feel without the pressure of responding in the moment. It's important to note that this isn't an ideal way to handle emotions. Ignoring can leave the other person feeling uncertain or unloved. But for someone who hasn't yet learned how to process emotions openly, it might feel like the only option they have. They're not trying to be cruel, they're trying to navigate unfamiliar emotional territory. Processing emotions often takes time. Love has a way of stirring up things we've buried deep inside old wounds, insecurities, fears. And sometimes ignoring is a way for people to sift through those emotions on their own before bringing them into the relationship. It's like cleaning out a messy closet. They need to sort through everything before they can invite you in. But here's the tricky part: while they're processing, you're left in the dark. And that can feel frustrating and unfair. You might wonder, why can't they just tell me what they're thinking the truth is? They may not have the words yet. They may not fully understand what they're feeling themselves. Processing emotions is messy, and some people need solitude to make sense of it all. Now, this doesn't mean you should accept being ignored indefinitely. Emotional processing is valid, but so is your need for communication and connection. It's okay to give someone space to process, but it's also okay to set boundaries. Love is about balance. It's about respecting someone's need for space while also honoring your own need for clarity and reassurance. So what can we learn from this? Ignoring isn't always a sign of indifference. Sometimes it's a sign that the person loves you so much that they need time to understand what they're feeling. It's not the healthiest response, but it's human. And in those moments, the best thing you can do is practice patience, not blind patience, but compassionate patience. Give them the room they need to process, but also make it clear that you're there, ready to listen when they're ready to talk. Emotions can be overwhelming, but with understanding and communication, even the silence of ignoring can lead to deeper connection. Love asks us to show grace, not just to the other person, but to ourselves as well. One of the most profound truths about human behavior is this: we tend to hide when we feel we have something to lose. And nothing awakens that fear more than love. When someone loves you deeply, the thought of losing you can feel unbearable, even paralyzing. For many, this fear doesn't result in open communication or vulnerability. It results in withdrawal. They hide, they pull back, not because they don't care, but because they'd care so much that the risk of losing you feels like too much to bear. This fear of loss is deeply ingrained in our psyche. From a young age, we learn that things we cherish can be taken away: relationships, opportunities, even our dreams. When someone truly loves you, that fear becomes magnified. You are no longer just a person in their life, you become someone they see as essential to their happiness, their sense of self, their future. The thought of jeopardizing that connection can be overwhelming, and their instinct might be to retreat, to protect what they hold most dear. Let's imagine for a moment that love is like holding a delicate glass sculpture. It's beautiful, intricate, and one of a kind, but it's also fragile. The person holding it may become so focused on the fear of dropping it that they stop enjoying its beauty. They may even set it down altogether, thinking, if I don't touch it, I can't break it. That's what happens when people hide in relationships. They think pulling away will somehow protect what they love. For some, hiding becomes a defense mechanism. They think, if I don't show too much of myself, if I don't say the wrong thing, if I don't make a mistake, I can avoid losing them. But this approach often backfires because love thrives on openness, on being seen and known fully. By hiding, they unintentionally create distance in the very relationship they're trying to protect. This fear of losing what they love often stems from past wounds. Maybe they've lost someone important before, and that pain left a scar. Maybe they've been hurt in love and now associate vulnerability with heartbreak. Or maybe they've never experienced a love this deep, and the newness of it makes them feel unsure of how to handle it. Whatever the reason, their fear is real, and it drives their behavior. It's important to understand that hiding doesn't mean they don't value you. It's often a sign that they value you so much that the stakes feel impossibly high. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, or showing a part of themselves that might make you think twice about staying. Hiding becomes their way of avoiding those risks, even if it means unintentionally causing confusion or hurt. But here's the truth: fear of loss cannot coexist with love in its truest form. Love is expansive, not restrictive. It invites us to take risks, to show up fully, even when it feels scary. Love asks us to trust that being vulnerable won't destroy the relationship, but will strengthen it. For someone who is hiding, this kind of trust can feel like a leap of faith they're not quite ready to take. So what can you do when someone you love is hiding? First, acknowledge their fear. Recognize that their withdrawal isn't about you, it's about them and their internal struggle. Be compassionate, but also communicate your needs. Let them know that while you understand their fear, love can't grow in the shadows. It needs light, openness, and honesty. At the same time, resist the urge to chase them. Love cannot be forced or demanded. It must be given freely without coercion. If someone is hiding, give them the space to process their emotions, but also set boundaries to protect your own well-being. Love is a partnership, and it requires both people to show up, even when it feels difficult. Ultimately, people hide when they fear losing what they love because the stakes feel too high. But the greatest irony is this: by hiding, they risk losing the very thing they're trying to protect. Love requires courage, the courage to be seen, to be known, to be vulnerable. And while fear may cause someone to retreat, it's love that can bring them back stronger and more open than before. Remember, love is not about perfection, it's about presence. And if someone is hiding, their journey is not about learning how to be perfect, but learning how to be present in the face of their fear. That's where real connection begins. When someone you love ignores you, it's natural to internalize the experience, to wonder if it reflects something about your worth or the health of the relationship. But sometimes their silence has little to do with you and everything to do with their own inner growth journey. Growth, especially emotional growth, is often a deeply personal and solitary process. It requires a person to look inward, confront uncomfortable truths, and wrestle with the parts of themselves they may not yet fully understand. For many, love can be a mirror, reflecting both the best and most vulnerable aspects of who they are. When they care about you deeply, it can awaken emotions they've long ignored: fears, insecurities, unresolved pain. These feelings can be difficult to confront, especially if they've spent years avoiding them. Ignoring you might not be about dismissing the relationship, it might be about trying to find balance within themselves. Personal growth often demands solitude. When people are grappling with significant inner changes, they may feel overwhelmed by external relationships, even those they cherish most. They may step back because they don't have the emotional capacity to be fully present while also working on themselves. This isn't an act of rejection, it's a sign of prioritization, a choice to focus on becoming the person they believe they need to be to love and be loved in a healthier way. In relationships, there's often an unspoken pressure to always be okay to show up as a perfect version of ourselves. But the truth is, no one is perfect, and love has a way of exposing the areas where we fall short. For some, this realization can feel overwhelming. They might ignore you because they're grappling with their perceived inadequacies. They think, I need to fix myself before I can show up fully in this relationship. This period of withdrawal might also be a time when they're learning essential skills: how to communicate better, how to manage their emotions, or how to trust more deeply. Growth isn't always a linear or clean process. It can be messy, unpredictable, and riddled with moments of self-doubt. Ignoring may be their way of pausing the relationship temporarily so they can focus on these inner changes without the added pressure of navigating external dynamics. It's also important to recognize that everyone's growth journey looks different. Some people thrive when they process emotions with their partner, while others need to retreat and work through their challenges independently. This doesn't mean they value the relationship any less, it simply means that their path to growth requires space. By stepping back, they're not shutting you out permanently, they're carving out a moment to nurture the parts of themselves that need healing or attention. For those who are on this growth journey, ignoring may also reflect a fear of being misunderstood. They may feel that they can't explain their internal struggles clearly, so they choose silence instead. This isn't an ideal solution, but it's often the best they can do in the moment. They might think, if I just stay quiet, I won't risk saying or doing something that could damage the relationship while I figure myself out. Personal growth often brings to light unhealed wounds or unresolved patterns from the past. If someone has been hurt in previous relationships, those experiences may shape how they respond to challenges in their current relationship. They might withdraw as a way to protect themselves while they work through those old wounds. This isn't about punishing you or creating distance. It's about trying to reconcile their past with their present. It's also worth noting that growth is rarely comfortable. It requires a person to step out of their comfort zone, to face truths about themselves they may not like, and to commit to change, even when it feels daunting. Ignoring you may simply be their way of managing this discomfort, of taking time to adjust to the new version of themselves they're trying to become. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the world, but it's also one of the most vulnerable. It demands more than just affection and attraction, it requires bravery. Real love asks us to confront our fears, navigate our insecurities, and find the courage to return even after we've distanced ourselves. When someone pulls away or ignores you, it's often because they're wrestling with their own fears or doubts. But the defining characteristic of real love is not that it never falters, it's that it always seeks to find its way back. Coming back requires an extraordinary kind of courage. It means admitting that stepping away didn't solve the problem, that avoiding you didn't make the feelings any less real. It's the courage to face the messiness of their emotions, to confront the things they were afraid of sharing, and to trust that the connection is strong enough to withstand their imperfections. For someone who's been in hiding, returning is not just a physical act, it's an emotional and spiritual leap of faith. Real love demands that we put aside our pride. Coming back after ignoring someone means acknowledging that we made a choice to withdraw, that our actions may have caused confusion or hurt. It's not easy to admit, especially for those who struggle with vulnerability. But true love has a way of softening even the hardest hearts, pushing people toward honesty and humility. It's not about perfection, it's about being willing to take the risk of being seen fully, flaws and all. The act of coming back is also an act of trust. It says, I trust that this relationship is worth fighting for. I trust that you'll understand why I needed space. I trust that I can share my fears and not be judged. For many, this trust doesn't come easily. It's built slowly through moments of reconnection and reassurance. Every step toward coming back is a step toward rebuilding that trust, even if it feels uncertain or uncomfortable. Love also requires accountability. When someone has ignored you, returning is not just about resuming the relationship as if nothing happened. It's about taking responsibility for the distance they created. It's about being willing to say, I know I hurt you, and I'm here to repair that. Accountability is one of the cornerstones of real love because it shows a commitment to growth, both individually and as a partner. Coming back also means being willing to re-engage with vulnerability. The very act of love requires us to open ourselves to the possibility of rejection or pain. When someone has ignored you, it's often because they were overwhelmed by these vulnerabilities. But real love is a constant invitation to push past fear and re-enter the space of connection and intimacy, even when it feels like the hardest thing to do. To come back is to make a choice to prioritize the relationship over fear, to choose love over the safety of distance. It's a recognition that the bond you share is worth fighting for, even when it's easier to stay silent or apart. Real love doesn't shy away from hard moments, it leans into them. It acknowledges that love isn't always easy, but it's always worth the effort. This courage to return isn't something that happens overnight. For many, it's a journey filled with small, incremental steps. It might start with a message, a conversation, or an apology. Each step is an act of love, a way of saying, I see you, I value you, I'm willing to try again. The process may be slow, but it's deeply meaningful because it reflects a willingness to grow and heal together. Real love doesn't ignore challenges, it faces them head on. It acknowledges the missteps, the moments of silence, the times of withdrawal. And then it chooses to move forward, to rebuild trust, to create a stronger foundation. Coming back is never easy, but it's one of the most profound ways to show that love is still present, still powerful, still worth pursuing. In conclusion, real love isn't without its challenges. It involves vulnerability, the courage to process emotions, and the willingness to face fear head on. Ignoring someone may sometimes be a sign of personal growth or a temporary retreat to heal, but love always finds its way back. True love requires the courage to return, to be honest, and to embrace vulnerability, for it's only through these moments of reckoning that love can truly flourish and deepen.